Man, oh man, your boy, the one and only nonprofit sector connector. Two flights up from the kitchen. I feel like I just did this the other day, man. We're back up in the attic doing the show. Philanthropy and Focus is the name of the program. Last week we had Steve Mayer on the show, a bit of a break from the norm of what we typically do here on the show. And today is another bit of a break from the norm. We got some fun announcements. This is an exciting show. This is a show that's been, kind of in the works for maybe a year. How could a show be in the works for maybe a year? Well, we'll tell you about that when you meet my guest. The show is Philanthropy and Focus, your boy, the nonprofit sector connector. Every week, we meet with leaders in the nonprofit sector, as I like to say, to help them tell their story and amplify their message. It's summer, man. We are in it right now. Summer is going, a lot of the boats and, the festivities and the barbecues and all that stuff. And we're celebrating here on the show as well. So without really further ado, I'm going to jump right in and introduce my two guests. And not only two guests of mine here on the show, but we're partners in Philanthropy Network of New York. And we'll get to how that all sort of happened and who made that connection, who played a little bit nonprofit sector connector. Actually, it was Kellyanne Serini and Ken Serini who made that connection. But we'll get into that a little bit later in the program. Liz, Saitta, Kim, Cottage, my friends, my partners, what's going on? Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Very good.
So good for you both to be here. I don't always get two guests, and I always like when there's more than one because it helps me have to focus and move around. Focus with a PH, but move around try and make sure we're all in the conversation. So as we were talking earlier this morning, I was saying, I always like the beginning of the program to be when my guests introduce themselves. We talk about their background, the work they've done, and really what got them to the point they're at right now. And in the case we're talking about, Philanthropy Network of New York. So why don't we go in alphabetical order? And I think it'll be perfect this way because Cottage comes before Saitta in the alphabet. I don't know if it's in the Webster's dictionary. Cottage would be because that's like a little house. But but let's do it that way, Kim, because how we were talking about this morning is you and Liz met through SHRM of Long Island, the Society of Human Resource Managers of Long Island. But I'd like you to tell that story. So let's start with you, and then we'll weave Liz in. Please take it away.
So I am the foundation chair for the Society of Human Resource Management. I've been in that position for over a decade. And what that committee and foundation does is it raises money to educate and advance the human resource profession through scholarships, through teachings, through webinars. And one of my tasks was to have a team, because if I don't have a team, then we can't raise money. And Liz was on my team and she just made everything happen. And that's how I got to first meet Liz.
Love it. All right. Liz, what were you doing at SHRM of Long Island at the time? Why were you involved, or how were you involved? What brought you there?
Sure. So I was actually with Cut and Wealth Management, and we were the financial sponsor for many, many years. And through an introduction through Evan Branfman, who's a senior partner, he introduced me to Kim, and it was just love at first sight. And we've been best friends ever since.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Listen, that's networking. That's what I like to say, man. Listen, they say know you, love you, trust you, know you, like you, trust you, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it's then we help each other make money and make the world a better place. That's what I believe. It's all about the relationships. And I've been connecting and building relationships for, well, way before I knew it was called networking. I would just be like, hey, Liz, you do that. And Kim, you do that. We should sit next to each other and talk about that. Like I was doing that when I was a kid, it just made sense to me. So it's critically important to continue to develop these relationships. And I love what you said there, Liz, that you became best friends ever since. And how cool is that? When you can be in business and collaborate with friends like that, it's super important. So I want to understand, what you met through SHRM, right? And then Liz, why don't you, from your perspective, talk to us a little bit about what SHRM is in general and what it is here on Long Island and things like that, if you could.
Sure. So SHRM Long Island is an affiliate chapter of the national organization SHRM. So SHRM has approximately 385 chapters, hundreds of thousands of members that they provide education and resource to the HR professional. So I'm the executive director for the Long Island chapter. Nassau and Suffolk counties are who we represent. We have approximately 1,200 members, and we provide on a monthly basis networking opportunities, education, in-person, virtual, and resources. So when an HR professional is in need of a resource, whether it's a new payroll company or new technology, or just needs an answer to an employment question, they come to us, and then we kind of help them navigate their needs.
Love
So it's
that.
a pretty cool, tight network of people.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. And so I want to, Kim, from your perspective, from the foundation, I mean, you said, the role of the foundation is to bring in money to support these, these HR professionals and as Liz talks about resources, I know there's a big conference that you all have coming up for SHRM Long Island, but there's another very important unconference that we need to talk about. So we'll get into that too. But from your perspective, Kim, what exactly is the foundation's role? Like you said, raising money and bringing in funds. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So, just like in any profession, in order to stay updated, there's education involved. So, the human resource professionals want to get their CP, their SCP, different certifications, there's recruitment certifications. So what happens is the foundation raises money for scholarships in order to give them the sources for that education.
Yeah, that brings up something for me that I want to talk about, and I find this with a lot of trade associations that I'm connected to. And I know, Liz, you and I have talked about this. I'm not sure if you and Kim and I have talked about this, but I know it's a relevant situation. Young people, not enough young people that are connected to these organizations, trade associations, and whatnot. Liz, you want to talk a little bit about that, about how to, there are great resources for younger HR
Yeah.
professionals partnered up with the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's been a huge focus of SHRM Long Island over the last year, and going into 2025 is really attracting and engaging with the younger professional. And how we're doing that is by collaborating with other universities with their student chapters of SHRM and inviting them to participate at the local level. And also with the organizations that are currently members, we encourage them to bring their younger employees in their HR department to SHRM events and start to get them involved. And we've been doing a lot of more emerging leaders type activities geared towards the needs of that younger professional, and why being a part of a SHRM Long Island or any SHRM affiliate is really important for them to have the resources and the education to do their jobs effectively and efficiently.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, listen, we all need to network generally from a business development. Well, not all of us, but many of us need to network from a business development perspective. But there's also having these alliances and these relationships in your own community, so to speak. And in this case, we're talking about the HR community, because let's be honest, most people these days get their jobs. In fact, the first time I ever hung out with Liz, we worked on getting somebody a job and it worked out. But it was the first time I ever met you in person, actually. Was it the first time? I don't know, but it was early on in our
It
relationship.
was. It was the first time.
Kim and I had been talking, and then you invited me to an event, and then I met your son, and then we worked out some things, and so what I was getting to though was networking is critically important, because I was talking to somebody that the other day. People reach out to me when they're looking for jobs, not because I do recruiting, just because I know, Kim, you know how we are. We know a lot of people, right? People love us. We always say that, right? So people reach out to me and they'll say, you know what? I'm sending in all these resumes and these applications and nothing's even happening. And and I said, it's about, you got to know somebody there. So go through my LinkedIn network, look at those companies. If I know somebody over there, let's do it that way. So I think in terms of SHRM Long Island, I think that's another piece there too, Liz, where it's critically important for these people to make professional relationships, not necessarily because somebody's going to buy something from somebody, but so they can look out for each other. Do you see a lot of that in the network?
Yes, but it's a skill that they need to learn, right? So networking isn't a big part of HR profession, right? Because you have a skill,
Right.
about HR, recruiting, retention, benefits, but networking is a skill that we see hasn't been kind of enhanced or taught. So that's something through SHRM Long Island that we encourage and we help them kind of learn how to do.
Pretty interesting you say that. I have two or three friends in my ear that keep telling me, Tommy D, there's something you need to do here, and maybe that's something we need to talk about. There's a point I want to make that I just got, around helping people network and things like that. But I wanted to bring up something that's an opportunity that I wanted to share with you both. Just the other day, actually, Liz, you were able to come out to about a week and a half. No, must be, it was earlier in June, maybe about a month ago. I was doing a panel discussion with four executive directors of nonprofits, and someone who was in the room that day is connected to the Nassau County Bar Association, and as in lawyers, everybody, not cocktails, all right, different kind of bars, everybody, but the Bar Association, and asked me, said, Tommy D, would you? And I said, yes. I didn't even know what she was going to ask me, but I like her a lot, and so I said, yes, I would. But she said, would you run a panel discussion with some of those mental health agencies at the Nassau County Bar Association? I said, absolutely, I would. So, that's the networking piece too. Like that just makes it, I don't necessarily need to be in front of a room full of attorneys, but it doesn't hurt. It's not bad for our business together, Philanthropy Network of New York. It's not bad for Vanguard Benefits, my other venture. So it's all about that. It's all about that relationship building and that networking and what goes on there. So, Kim, I got a question for you before we go to break. Here's what it's going to be. Somewhere along the lines, you are in conversations with some of your peers in the HR world in SHRM Long Island, and correct me if I have this backwards, but you were finding out that there was an opportunity, I'll call it an opportunity in the market. There was something that companies were not exactly addressing correctly, or had an opportunity, you saw an opportunity to address this better and more efficiently. Can you tell me that genesis story about how before Philanthropy Network of New York was a thing, it was probably written on a bar napkin. I have a friend of mine, Chris, who's about to turn 50, and we used to build businesses on a bar napkin. A little square napkin. We used to write out business plans and stuff like that. So, is there a bar napkin story about that, Kim, or something like, or a sticky note story? Like, how did that happen?
Well, Liz and I were away at a SHRM conference actually, and people were talking about how do we recruit and we retain talent. We need social responsibility, and and to be honest, there was this company that had a platform, and they were doing this presentation. They had a platform to take care of your social responsibility, but it was so almost like you do a Google search. It was like you do a Google search, you see what things are in your area, and then you try to call and you try to get it, and then they'll send you back statistics of who registered. But it really wasn't doing the job.
Right.
So Liz and I together decided, well, you know what? Our HR professionals are saying, how do we retain the talent that we have? How do we recruit? A really wise person told me that before someone gets a job or before they do business with you, they're looking you up. What is your company's mantra? What are you doing to give back? How do you care about your employees? So we decided from there to put together the Philanthropy Network of New York, which is a very, very turnkey platform that puts everything in one: retention, recruitment, learning about all these non-for-profits, networking, being the employer of choice. And we'll get into that. But
I love it. Look, it's like you've done TV and radio before. You're like, we'll get into that. Like you're teasing them. Like you're gonna leave them on the cliff, a little cliffhanger, Kim Cottage. Well done. Well done. I love it. I look back at my email and I told you when we were in the virtual green room that the initial time that we were introduced was May 25th, 2023. And it's just so fun how things have kind of gone forward and the cool stuff we're all doing together. So Liz and Kim, I'm so grateful to know you. I'm so grateful to call you my partners in this work we're doing together. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back. Philanthropy and Focus, Philanthropy Network of New York. What a nice tone, that word philanthropy just comes together. We'll be right back.
Are you a high achieving, growth oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Phocus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
All right, cut through that static, man. Join me in the attic. Every single Friday morning, we're back here in the attic me, Tommy D, I host the show Philanthropy and Focus. I want to read this really quick. Kim Cottage is a trailblazer in the recruitment industry and the co-founder of the Philanthropy Network of New York. Her passion for connecting corporate clients with their philanthropic missions has made significant contributions, or has had Kim make significant contributions to the intersection between business and social impact. So super excited to have you on the show, Kim. And as I said, to be connected to you in business and in our friendship as well. Elizabeth Saitta has her MBA, serves as the executive director of SHRM Long Island, brings a wealth of experience and passion for advancing the profession of HR by inspiring, influencing, developing, and driving meaningful relationships to SHRM Long Island's members. And with a profound commitment to making a positive impact, she spearheads strategic initiatives and leads the organization towards achieving its goals. Also co-founder of Philanthropy Network of New York. So look, jazzed to have you here. I mean, this is kind of overdue. We've been talking about making the show happen, and we're here now. We're making it happen. Right before we went to a break, Kim started to tell us the story about uncovering this opportunity while you were away at a conference. Liz, from your perspective, did you see the vision right away? When you guys were talking about it, did you say, hey man, there's a business here? Tell me about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Listening for weeks, months, years of, the general membership saying, especially through COVID, that they're having a hard time attracting and retaining talent. How do we create a positive work culture when we're in a hybrid environment? How do we, create brand awareness of our organization, when we really can't, go out there and gather. So Tim and I thought it through, and we kind of piggybacked off this platform that we had seen at a conference, but we just made it 1,000 times better by incorporating what we do here on Long Island best: networking, creating environments for people to feel comfortable and giving back to our communities. So but it's still growing. It's still growing, and we're changing, and we're pivoting each and every day to grow the Philanthropy Network of New York into what our organizations want. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty cool. I'll tell you, when I first heard about this, I had this idea. So everybody, just to give you some frame of reference and some context. So I've been selling to employer groups for over 20 years, started out my career at ADP in payroll sales. I now own a benefits agency with partners called Vanguard Benefits. I'm constantly engaging with HR departments. I mean, it's similar but different than what you all were doing, having this connection and relationship to HR and hearing the same thing where, we'd love to get involved and do something, and we can do it on a one-off. I mean, I have 25 employees, I have 75 employees. I am HR, Tommy. I'm the whole thing, and I don't have an assistant or whatever, and I'd like to do that. And I'd go, man, for me, what it was, I was go, there's a business opportunity here, but because sometimes I come up with business opportunities and ideas every day, most of them don't get implemented. So when I did meet you both, I go, I had this idea and you guys are implementing it. And that's how we started to kind of, flirt and say, is there something here for us all to be doing together? And we'll get into kind of all of our big vision on how big this thing is going to get and how much impact it's going to make. But something I want to say, 70% of Americans believe, this is from the Harvard Business Review, 70% of Americans believe it's very important for companies to make the world a better place. 70%. Now, all of those people probably work somewhere, want to work somewhere, or used to work somewhere, right? So if you believe that it's that important, for your candidates believe that, your employees believe that, it's a game changer when you can implement and bring in these types of programs that we're going to talk about. 77% of consumers are motivated to purchase from companies committed to making the world a better place. 77% of consumers are looking to see what you all are doing, businesses, for the community. How are you getting involved? What work are you doing to make the world a better place, right? And we've seen that. And what I'd love to do is maybe, Kim, talk some of the clients that we already work with, their reactions to what this relationship has been so far.
All right, so we'll just talk about, one that comes to mind is Suffolk Credit Union. So Suffolk Credit Union, very philanthropic mission, always giving back to the community, does do a couple of things on their own, but how can they expand that? So we have over 14 events that we do. What's important to me, what's important to their employer, what's important to somebody might not, everyone's different. So we do things with elders, we do things with suicide prevention, we do things with disability. So sometimes we do things with food, sometimes we're planting, sometimes we're painting, sometimes we're reading. So whatever's important to the individual, they sign up and go to. They are Suffolk Credit, really, it's important. They're environmental. They want the environmental, the environment to be clean. We had a beach cleanup. They had over 45 people attend. And we really use this opportunity as an employee engagement. If you look online and see all the pictures and everyone laughing, and we added a little meditation beforehand. So there's so many aspects to the way this goes. And people are really talking about it. When we go to these events, we work with the veterans. And I remember a family of kids walking in and saying, I can't wait to help out these veterans. And when she walked out, she said, oh, I didn't help them. They made me better.
Yeah, that's the little secret about volunteering, Kim. That's the kind of secret. Like, before we all met, I went out and I did 60 days of service. And that was kind of like more and more of the thing. That's why, I'll tell you, the universe, God, whatever somebody's deal is, but works in these interesting ways where, or Kellyanne and Ken Serini, in this case, were the connector there. But I will tell this, and I've said this story here on the show, and I love getting out and doing the volunteerism because it helps, but it also helps me. If you're not having a great day, man, and you can get out there and do something for somebody else, go do that, because now you're outside of your nonsense and shenanigans and how tough your life is, because you're out making an impact for somebody else. And I kept saying to you both the night at the beach with Suffolk, I was like, they figured it out. They're using this platform. They're getting it. I think they're a great model for what we're going to continue to do going forward. Yes. Because this sounds negative, but they bought in. They understand it. They are all in on the strategy. And, from the C-level down, they had the CEO out there that night. That was so great to meet her. And then they bought shirts and hoodies, and they made it a special night for their team, not just come do the thing, have a sandwich and go, but it was very engaging. What do you think about that, Liz? And also some of our other clients that we work with?
Yeah, no, absolutely. They really understand the program and they are utilizing it to its fullest capacity, right? So not only are they allowing their employees to pick, what's important to them. They're not being voluntold, you have to go to this specific event. You go to where you feel you want to be. And they're taking advantage of, the marketing, the social media that happens pre, during, and post events with the, members, companies name hashtag,
Yeah.
all over the place. They're really using it, and then they repost it to their, network. And so they really get it. And we want to make all our members get it like that, so that it's being fully utilized to its capacity.
Yeah.
But, some people use it not just for employee engagement or, employee corporate social responsibility. We have some members that use it for, business development, right? What a better way to close business with a prospect is to bring them to an event where it's meaningful to them, right? And you're able to bring that prospect to a veterans event or, a North Shore Animal League, because they have an affinity towards that specific area. And, people like to do business with people of like mind and that are charitable. So people are using, Philanthropy Network in so many different ways, so many different ways.
Yeah, great points. I think that's so important to underscore, is that we're solving multiple problems, right? We're solving this problem of, I'm a director of HR, I can't manage this because of bandwidth, but I want to plug into your platform. So then I'm getting my employees more engaged, corporate days of social responsibility, they're involved, they're volunteering, and they're making a friend, because, they used to say, when, again, having been in this adjacent to HR world for many, many years, they always used to ask, when I worked at ADP, you'd have to take a survey each year. And it was like, kind of, I don't know, it was a little silly to me, but like, do you have a best friend at work? That was like a thing that they would ask you, because it was just show, are you engaged? Are you connected? Watching these individuals from Suffolk a couple of weeks ago, and certainly some of our other clients, out at these events, not only are they getting to mingle with the other businesses there, they're mingling with their own teams that they might only, some of them, first of all, you had that whole Suffolk group there. Some of these people never see each other because they're in different branches and different business units and stuff. You get to make new friends internally. And that, to me, I love. I want to go into this piece, though, where you're talking about, pre-event, post-event, stuff like that. Because, as Kim said earlier, she said somebody told her a long time ago how important it is what candidates see when they're looking at you. If I want to go work at Coca-Cola, or if I want to go work at a local business on Long Island, I'm going to check them out. I was telling somebody just last week, who is a new friend of mine, I said, you need a LinkedIn profile. Like, this individual is looking for a job in the nonprofit space and is returning to the workforce or whatever. And I said, you need to be on LinkedIn, because as soon as you left me a voicemail, because I know this person's husband, so as soon as you left me a voicemail, I went to LinkedIn to look you up. Like, literally, that's how quick it is. And that's critically important. So that storytelling, Liz, that you talk about, can you tell us about what that pre and post looks like? And then Kim, I know from your perspective, some of the feedback you may have gotten from what's the quote unquote advertising we do or promotion we do of our partners, as we say. You know what I mean, Liz?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So when I talk about pre-marketing is, we are always posting to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, about all the upcoming events, why it's important, who the not-for-profit is. And we make it very easy for people to register, right? So that's pre-marketing. We also do a lot of marketing of the members that are part of the network, company spotlights. If we see them being recognized, outside, our organization, we make sure to post it and say they're a proud member of Philanthropy Network of New York. For example, Michelle Dean was just awarded some fabulous award as a top, executive on her own website. We then took that and forwarded it on to our network. So not only did she get recognition through her own organization, she got recognition through Philanthropy Network of New York. So we do that with all of our members when we see them being recognized outside of the philanthropy. During the event, we're taking lots of pictures, we're posting during the event, we're hashtagging the company. And then post-event, there's always a thank you to everyone who participated. There's a group photo, everyone's hashtagged, and then everyone gets, access to the photos so that they could, use them in their own social media needs.
Yeah, exactly. Kim, what have you experienced when we talk to some of our clients, as their feedback on what's been most important to them is, from the marketing perspective, as Liz talks about, because the way we treat them is as their partners. We really look at it that way, that like Liz points out, we're helping promote their other accomplishments and accolades that they're getting in the community. But maybe some of the stuff you've heard, that I know you're very close to some of these folks. You talk to them on a regular basis. I'm curious what kind of feedback you get.
Well, I'll just give one story, and I don't know if it's exactly answering your question, but last year we had an event. It was in Long Beach, and we had a whole bunch of individuals coming from a company. The VP calls me and says, "Oh, it's a hard day. These young individuals never entailed the pressure they had on them today. So beware." So they came in, I knew about it. There was a challenge. We were all together because our mantra is together we do great things. I took them out of their comfort zone. We did our task. I introduced them to people. The next morning she called, she goes, "I don't know what you did." She goes, "But they all came back. They had a great time. They were smiling, and you really changed them." So through philanthropy, you do change people.
100%. That's the whole thing right there. That's what it is. It's like now these individuals go back, they're jazzed. And who set them up to do that? Their company. Their company gave them this opportunity, gave them this platform to go out, make an impact, and get involved in the community and do some philanthropy. So that's so special. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. I want to talk more about what Liz sort of said there about using it from a business development perspective, because I believe as the nonprofit sector connector and as a connector in general, that we're always networking. And networking is not a bad word, everybody. Prospecting, when people think you're networking with them, that is a bad word. Networking is building relationships, adding value, making a friend. How can I help you? That's networking, right? I think what happens is, now I've been a salesman my whole life, so nothing against salespeople. I love you all. However, we need to tighten up a couple of things, sales gang. Here's the deal. When you go out to network, don't prospect. Network. When you go out to prospect, great behavior. I do it, but I know when I'm doing that, So when you're meeting with somebody and you're trading cards and you're sizing them up to sell them something, that's not networking, gang. But get me off my soapbox. I'm going to rant. We better go to a quick break. But when we come back, I want to talk about, how I see this as a business development opportunity for people making deposits and things like that. We'll talk about that when we come back. We'll talk about some upcoming events, and we'll obviously talk about the unconference, talk about upcoming events. Very soon, we will be celebrating that very important day. So right back, Liz, Kim, and Tommy D, right back. Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business, or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
We are back. So while you're checking in, if you're watching the video right now, you'll see I am sharing our website, which is pnnewyork.com, pnnewyork.com. That is the Philanthropy Network of New York. I'm sharing a couple of just pages. These are some of our clients here. You know, if you're only listening, if you're checking this out as a podcast, please go to the network, go to the website, pnnewyork.com, to check out the website, see the great work we're doing, see some of the upcoming events, things like that. Well, as we were going to commercial, I sort of said, you know, I'd love to talk about this business development angle that Liz mentioned before we went to a break. I think it's critically important to think in those terms, gang, because Liz, the way you pointed it out was like, if you have a client or prospective partner who might be very focused on animal advocacy, as an example. And January, we did an event at the North Shore. Oh my God, why can't in Port Washington, North Shore Animal
League.
And couldn't think of all the words. North Shore Animal League, which is a big national or international known brand, happens to be right here on Long Island that some people might not realize. But when we did that event, you know, if I had a prospective partner or client that I was working with who I knew was gaga over animals and looking out for animals, I would bring that person to the event. So I think when people can think in those terms of, wow, now I rolled my sleeves up. I'll think of another event. You know, when we were out doing, this is last year, actually, when we all first started really getting to know each other, we did an event called Pizza Palooza, which was with FCA and Family and Children's Association here on Long Island. And we worked with some of the children there playing games and pizza. And shout out to my dad, Ralph's Italian Ices of Huntington. My dad donated Italian Ices. And it was just that connection and relationship. And I met, you know, you're meeting CEOs of companies that, you know, you're rolling your sleeves up, you're getting involved together, you're serving pizza with rubber gloves on, right? Everybody's the same. You're digging, you know, shout out to my friend Yolanda Rubano Gross from Options for Community Living, because a couple of years ago when I was doing 60 days of service, I was planting shrubs in front of one of their residential homes, and the CEO came out and was digging holes with me. Like, that's the kind of stuff when you get involved with philanthropy, you connect with people. Maybe some of the stuff, Liz or Kim, whoever wants to jump in to talk about what you've seen come out of this. It doesn't have to be somebody sold the thing, but maybe new relationships that have come from, you know, you have with the dozen or so customers that we have, they're now meeting each other, they're intermingling. Maybe, especially like an example, Uncle Giuseppe's is a client of ours, right? You're constantly, Liz, I watch it because you handle our social media. I watch you promoting Uncle Giuseppe's. It's Super Bowl Sunday, or, you know, let's have something for your barbecue, right? That's the kind of promotional stuff we do. So I'm curious, has there been some wins that we could share from people just getting out together and networking?
Totally. So most of our network, when they're hosting, whether it's for personal purposes or corporate purposes, when they need food, they're going to Uncle Giuseppe's to place those orders, because they're there at every event, and they're talking and they're making friends. And I mean, the food is just delicious. So why not support people who support, you know, common causes? So that's really the beauty of Philanthropy Network of New York. It wasn't something that Kim and I had, you know, thought would, you know, happen as often as it does. And it's definitely not something that we put in our promotional materials,
Right.
But transactions are happening holistically from these events, people meeting each other and finding about the products and services that they provide. And education, right? So Family of Kids is a great example of, you know, do we really know what they do? But when they're there next to someone else and they're explaining their services, well, hey, I know someone that needs those services. And then someone will say, well, why don't you give me a call and let's make it happen, kind of thing. So it's a very unique way of opportunities happening, and it's very organic and holistic, which makes it a lot more meaningful.
Because they're not there for that, right? These are more natural. It goes back to my point earlier before we went to a break, where we're there to do this thing together, you know, roll up our sleeves, get our hands dirty, you know, put on the gloves. I mean, I remember in February, we were out at Island Harvest cleaning out the greenhouses, right? And I don't know who I'm standing next to, and I end up making all these new friends. And again, yeah, I'm with the Philanthropy Network of New York, but I'm just another guy standing there doing this thing, you know, doing the work. That's how we make
Mhm.
friends. Kim, what about you? I mean, you've probably seen a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, we'll go back to the event in February where we're at Island Harvest and next to Dr. Lenny.
Yes.
Dr. Lenny is wet, Dr. Lenny is dirty, and we're sweeping and we're digging. And I looked at him and I said, he's with Family of Kids. He's a CEO. And I said, thank you so much for being here. He's like, no, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So like, you can't even believe what comes out of this. And I just want to go back to the events themselves.
Please.
They're all different, but what is similar is the time frame and the format. And let me explain that. Everyone wants to give back, but we all have a certain amount of time and you have to get back to work. And, you know, some people do fight in organizations while they can't be away from their job. So most of our events are, you know, depending about 2.5 hours. So you get there and it's really powerful because a COO, CEO, or a leadership professional comes out and spends a few minutes welcoming everybody and talking about what the mission is. So you're having education of something that you might not ever know about. So you really are like an ah moment.
Yeah.
And then we all together do our task. So whether it's working in a greenhouse, whether it's cleaning the environment, whether it's painting rocks for suicide prevention, whether it's working with elders, and then we network a little bit with a little nosh,
Yeah.
usually given by Uncle Giuseppe. And then we all have time to go about our day. But you really, really, really made a difference.
So what I'm hearing you say is, gang, it doesn't have to be like volunteerism. And I've said this on this program for many years now, 3 years, in fact, and it doesn't have to be hours, doesn't have to be, every single week that you do this. If you get out, what you can accomplish inside of a 3-hour window, like Kim's talking about, 2.5 to 3 hours, you can make an impact. You can learn about a nonprofit organization that you didn't know about. You get a little nosh. I love that word nosh. We definitely don't use that word enough in our vernacular. I'm going to use that word 5 times more today. So you get a little bit of the nosh, and then you also you can make a new friend. You go back to your office. So if you come out and we do the event, let's say it's from 10 to 12:30 or something like that, you can be on emails, do your thing in the morning, you come out, you do your volunteerism, and you're back on the clock later on to make an impact at work. So that's where we've made it very attainable, I think is a very good part of this business model where, and mainly these events happen during the workday, right? Although sometimes in the evening. The event we did a couple weeks back was in the evening. I just think of some of the anecdotes. I think of Johnny from Suffolk Credit Union with the women we were making these hats right before the Belmont Stakes and stuff like that, right? And it was earlier. It was
The Derby.
Derby, the Kentucky Derby. Thank you. And it was just like, connecting with these women who was so jazzed. I got to tell this story. We're at that. Liz, help me out. What's the name of the place that we were at?
The Bristol.
We're at the Bristol, right? So in like Plainview. Is that
Jericho?
So at the Bristol and Jericho, and so at these places, by the way, that's one of our close friends and partners, the team at the Bristol, right, and the Encore and stuff like that. So we're at this event and we're making these bonnets, and it was so much fun. And they made these little cakes, so they had these like little cakes and cookies, and it was like a tea, right? It wasn't supposed to be like
it's like high tea.
High tea, right? So I had my pinky sticking out while I was drinking my coffee and stuff like that. So there's these women across the hall from where we were making these hats, and they were in the salon, and they were like, "What's going on over there?" And I go, "Well, we're doing these hats." They go, "Well, we want to be there." I go, "All right, so we're gonna work this out." So I'm like feeling all bad. I want to bring the materials across to the salon. I want to take the ladies from the salon and say, "Just come across the hall and make your hats." So I think what we ended up doing was leaving a lot of materials because they already had hair appointments. They had to have their hair done, so they didn't get to make it over. But this just shows how important this is and how much fun this really is, these activities. And let's be honest, I think in this country sometimes we don't do the best job of looking out and taking care of our seniors and connecting with them. But man, it's so great. It's such a it makes me feel good when I'm in these environments where we're meeting with people and they have great stories to tell. And I hit it off with a bunch of these ladies, and we had a lot of fun. We had some chuckles that day, right, with some laughs. So That's
Yeah.
what this is. And think about how that, especially I got to point out Johnny again, the young man, he was just having such a great time. And, we don't know somebody's situation, I mean, I don't have my grandparents around anymore. So to connect with people of that era is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So anyway, I don't know if you guys have anything on that. I'm just ranting.
Tommy, so on July 23rd, if anyone wants to come out, we are lucky enough to partner with ACLD again, the only company that we're doing a repeat for. They were our first company, and we're actually going to a residence, and a gentleman lost his parents, and he would sit out every summer and plant plastic yellow flowers because his mother loved yellow flowers, and he sits for hours. Well, we're all going to come in and we're going to plant real yellow flowers.
Can't do that.
So it's gonna make a really, really impact on this
You're
gentleman.
gonna make me cry. It's been weeks since I've cried on this show, Kim. I can't. So I'm sharing that on my screen right now, gang. If you go to PN New York, and then you'll click on, I'm going to try to do this right now, and then you click on this event here, July 23rd, register here. It's going to take you to this page. If you can't find any of this later on, what you do is you can send me an email, TommyD@pnnewyork.com, or Liz@pnnewyork.com, or Kim@pnnewyork.com, or just we're gonna shout out the socials and stuff like that as we draw to a break. We come back, we're gonna go to our third break of the day. When we come back, it's our final segment. We're gonna talk about upcoming events and specifically the unconference. So I really want to talk about the unconference because that has been something that there's a lot of effort being put into that event. It's going to be a super event. We got some wild keynote speaker and really great stories to tell about that event. I'm fired up about that. So when we come back, Kim and Liz, Tommy D, right back.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
We're back. I always told people I always wanted to be a game show host when I grow up. So since I haven't grown up yet, there's still more time for me to be a game show host. So we like to say at the end of this program, we call it the lightning round. So we have about 8 minutes left to really drive home what's going on with Philanthropy Network in New York and how maybe a bit of a call to action, how we want people to connect with us and get connected to the work we're doing. Kim, this has really been something you've spent a lot of time and energy on. This is your baby, certainly you and Liz, but I know this is, the chatter talks, the whole thing, this unconference. Although the thing I'm going to take credit for is I told you the name, the unconference. So I'm taking credit for that piece. I'll always take credit for that one. But other than that, this is your baby. Tell us about it. And Liz, you jump in as well. But Kim, what is the unconference all about? I shared it while we were at a break. I shared some website.
So Liz and I, as we listened to the HR community, there was a survey that went out, and every year there's a survey, and the number one thing that HR professionals are looking for is personal development. Is this company going to be the employee of choice? Why are people going to work here? So we came up with the unconference. Well, you came up with the name. So everyone can recharge, reboost, and be the best you. Because if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't make yourself happy, who else is going to? You're not going to be good for your team. You're not going to be good for your family unless you're happy. But see, I have a very short attention span, and I've been to a lot of conferences, and I just have to be honest. They have these speakers that are kind of boring.
Yeah.
And I just was not, and Liz, we were just not going to have that. We just want I want everyone to walk in better than they walked out. So if I go through it quickly, it's the unconference. You're going to walk in. You're not going to be wearing a name badge. We're going to have, we're so grateful for our vendors and our sponsors. So you're going to have a little networking. We're going to start the day with our groundbreaker, Chad Porter. Chad Porter was an athlete that lost his leg in a boating accident, and that meant everything to him, and how he has lived the best life with his Southern drawer. And he just had Liz and I at hello. His story, he motivates. So he's going to start our day to be the best person that we can be. He talks for the Buffalo Bills. He talks for many sports teams and many corporate companies as well. Then we're going to go into chatter talks, short little segments. One's going to be nothing's more important than today. Because if you wake up every day, you have to know tomorrow's not promised. So make today your best day. What failure taught me. My friend Naeem is going to come over. He came over to this country with a suitcase and $300 in his pocket. And he wants to teach everyone, if you don't fail, you're not going to succeed. Get out of the comfort zone.
Yeah, if you don't fail, you're not going to succeed. I love that. I was going through excuse me, Think and Grow Rich over the weekend, the classic. I was reading it on the weekend, and there's a lot of that, failing and failing is leading to successes, right?
And then we have Donna with 10% Happier, and she's going to just show you like the good wolf and the bad wolf, who wins, just to teach you just to go in your inner self. And then we're gonna have a barbecue. And you know what? I don't want anyone talking during the barbecue. I want everyone to talk to each other and get better and network. And we're just going to do that. We're going to have a DJ. We're going to have hats thrown out. We're going to finish the afternoon with the pinnacle speaker. Mike Mannix with the 5 L's is going to really teach us, choose you. If you don't choose you, no one else is, and give us the tools to choose ourselves.
Yeah.
We're gonna finish, and then Hub is our sponsor of our Sip and Swing. We're gonna end with people that want to go over and have some cocktails and some golfing, and we're gonna have a mixer afterwards. So everything that we take away from that day, we can keep going and have each other to enforce what we learned.
Yeah, I love that, because you know what it is. To your point, yes, conferences are sometimes boring, and right on. I know a bit about short attention span, and we know that on the show, Tommy D, ADHD, that two things rhyme. But let's be honest with this thing is like, it's great to do the thing that day, but what's the aftercare? What happens after that? And I think a lot of what we're talking about is community. You're going to meet these folks there, and many of these folks who are going to be in the room, some of our clients already on the Philanthropy Network of New York membership side, these are some of the folks that are going to be in the room. So they're already part of the community, but it's just going to continue to go on into the future. So I think that's really, what a blessing to just have this event coming up in a couple of weeks here in July 18th at the Hamlet on Long Island. So Liz, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be a day of like self-reflection, which I don't think as professionals, whether you're HR or you're any type of professional, sometimes you just don't have that opportunity to, take some time to have reflection. And through these stories and these presentations, it's going to help you overcome maybe some of the obstacles that you or me or anyone faces, with giving them, some tools and best practices to get through, and letting people know that they're not alone, and that, it's okay to choose you. Like Kim had said, if you're not the best individual that you can be, and none of us are ever going to be the best individuals we can be, but we can always be better,
We
right?
strive.
And we have to allow ourselves that opportunity. And I think on July 18th, through these conversations that we're all going to be having, it's going to allow people to become vulnerable and self-reflect so that they can walk out of there, even if it's 1% better. So it's very unique day.
Yeah, it is unique. And, I'm excited about the event because anytime I can work on that professional development and think and reflect on my impact in the world is a great opportunity. And we don't, to your point, we don't get to do it enough. We don't get to sit back and contemplate what we're doing in the world. And this is going to be a room filled with great dialogue, great conversations. And, something you said, Kim, about lunch, you said, I don't want anybody talking during the lunch. And I thought, well, that's not going to work. But I know what you meant now. You didn't want a speaker interrupting the network schmoozing during the lunch, because that's where the fun happens, right? It's at that, like, wow, we just went through this great stuff. We just learned all these ideas. I want to talk to people about it. And what I'm going to encourage people to do just generally in life, and certainly at an event like the Unconference, is stay away from the people you showed up with. The people you hang out with that you regularly see, get out of your comfort zone as we talk about it, because I believe life begins at the end of your comfort zone, right? So get out of your comfort zone and meet new people that you didn't come to the event with, because those people you never know. It's, if we didn't, eventually the three of us might have met, or eventually you two and I might have met, but if it wasn't for somebody pushing us together, that doesn't happen. And that's what it is. We are running out of time, so I want to just have you ask real quick. We have the event coming up. We still need sponsorships, or we still have opportunities for sponsors if somebody wants to sponsor. Event tickets we're selling, but we're getting pretty close to being sold out on the tickets. Liz, Kim, pitch that real quick before we go. Or did I just do it?
Yeah, I'm here. So we're almost sold out for tickets. You have to remember, everyone is coming here today, not because they need the credits. They're investing in themselves. So when you're with these type of people and the follow-up we're going to have, everyone's going to have the like mind. And I'm going to use his name, Dan Ritchie, who is the VP of training over at H2M. He's like, Kim, you and Liz knocked this out of the park. This is what Long Island's been waiting for. We're going to recharge, reboost. COVID happened. Everyone has to get that fire back, believe in themselves, get out of their comfort zone. So if you didn't buy a ticket, they're very reasonably priced. www.pnnewyork.com. Get your ticket. You won't regret it.
Love it. Love it. Liz, Kim, thank you for being my friends. Thank you for this thing we're going to do together. This is super what we're doing, and we're going to continue to do. Super exciting. What an alignment. You take the nonprofit sector connector, you take Liz and Kim, and what are we going to do? Wow, we're going to change the world. Hashtag no big deal, just changing the world. Yes. Everybody, make it an absolute great day. We'll see you all next week. Thank you both. I'll see you later.
Right. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
To Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Hey, everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Phocus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant. And on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.